At some point, painting can stop being fun. Maybe it's painting an army and doing the same thing over and over, or a project you care about so much you don't want to mess it up. Either way, you stop enjoying it, and that is exactly where this approach helped me out. Because instead of focusing on perfection, it leans into the unexpected. So in today's video, I'll show you a simple way to paint your miniatures that removes the pressure and makes it fun again. The colorful underpainting will be key to this approach, and while I often use an airbrush for it, rest assured that that is not a requirement. In terms of color, I am going for strong contrast, an orange-brown from above, almost like a directional sunlight, and a darker blue from below, in the opposite direction. But honestly, the exact colors don't matter. They are there to introduce a bit of randomness and fun, which we will talk about more in a bit, but also, and more importantly, to break the ice. Because instead of worrying about where to begin, you're just putting color down. Nothing precious, nothing final, and that makes getting started a lot easier. With that done, I now want you to forget about the model as a whole. Just pick one element and ignore everything else. In this case, I started with the boots. I layered a classic leather brown, focusing on the raised areas, and letting some of the colorful underpainting show through in the recesses. But what really matters here is that your attention is fully on that one element picked. Painting sessions can be short or long, depending on life and everything around it. And I've been there, having a model I am excited about, but not the time or energy to sit down for a full session. So instead of trying to finish everything, focus on something small. A weapon, a piece of clothing, whatever. Because whether you have 10 minutes or 2 hours, you can still complete something. And that matters more than you think, because progress doesn't come from big bursts of motivation. It comes from small, consistent finishes. Now you might be wondering, how is this any different from the way I've painted before? And that is where the underpainting comes in. Tell me, when was the last time you painted leather over blue? Or a sky blue cloth over orange? Those unexpected color combinations are what keeps the process feeling fresh. They force you to react instead of overthink. And because you don't fully control how those colors will interact, every brushstroke feels a bit more alive and unpredictable. It breaks that sense of repetition, where everything starts to feel the same from one model to the next. And that's where a lot of the fun comes back. Now, when it comes to metallics, there is something important to address. Because let's be honest, non-metallic metal has a reputation. It is often treated like this advanced technique that requires a deep understanding of light and reflection, and that alone is enough to stop most people from even trying it. But here is my solution. Don't think of it as metal, just treat it like any other surface. Leather, cloth, whatever. Apply your base color, usually a gray, and then layer your highlights the same way you've been doing everything else. No special rules, no extra theory. And suddenly, something that felt intimidating just becomes another part of the process. And this was exactly what I did when painting this model a couple weeks ago. No, it's not perfect, but we all know what is meant to be what. Sometimes the biggest barrier isn't skill, it's how we think about the problem in the first place. And once you change that perspective, a lot of things that felt advanced suddenly become approachable. Not because they got easier, but because you finally gave yourself permission to try them. But at some points you might start doubting on the end result, be it because the contrast feels too strong or the color combinations feel off, and that's normal. But instead of overcorrecting, I want you to follow this simple process. Step 1. Apply your base color over the underpainting. Step 2. Add a smaller, lighter layer for the highlights. Step 3. Move on. And that last step is the important one. Don't sit there trying to perfect things. Don't go back and fix your transitions. Just move forward, because the more you allow yourself to leave things as they are, the more momentum you build. And momentum is what keeps you painting. To keep the workflow smooth, whether in one sitting or across multiple sessions, I have already chosen all the base colors I'll be using before I even began. But more importantly, I have chosen a single color for highlights across the entire model. In this case, a nice yellow to match the sunlight idea I had. And there are 2 reasons for that. First, it simplifies the process. You don't have to think what color to highlight each layer with. And second, it creates cohesion. Even if your base colors are very different, or even clashing because of the underpainting, that shared highlight ties everything together. That said, this needs to stay subtle. When mixing in your highlight color, you are not trying to turn your base towards that color, you are just making it slightly brighter. It should still read as the original color, just lighter. And even if it feels like that highlight isn't doing much, trust me, it has more harmony than you realize once you look at the end result, where all the elements come together. To finish off, here is one extra lesson. Even though I used the same 2-layer process across the whole model, the armor didn't end up being the brightest area. And that is because the cloth colors I chose were naturally brighter. So to fix that, I added a final highlight of ivory on the armor, in order to simulate those light reflections characteristic of metal, just enough to push it slightly further and give it a bit more prominence. And the lesson worth remembering is: brightness is relative. Even if you highlight something correctly, it won't stand out if something else is brighter by default. So if you want a specific element to draw attention, sometimes it's not about adding more detail. It's just about making sure it is the brightest thing on the model. Now, could this be pushed further? Sure, it could be cleaner, smoother, more refined. But that was never the goal for this model. The goal was to enjoy the process, to experiment a bit, and to actually finish something. And if you've been watching this thinking, this could be better if I did this or that, then that means you already want to paint. So don't overthink it. Grab a model, try it out, and see where it takes you. And if you do, I'd love to hear how it goes. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them below. I'll be happy to help. But for now, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.